There's a building material on this earth that never burns. It does not rot. It will never let mold take hold inside it. No insect eats through it. No termite. No wood-boring beetle. And the fact most people miss is what happens to it with age. The longer this material stands, the harder it gets each year. Over decades, it slowly and permanently converts into actual stone. Walls built from it hundreds of years back are standing today. Not restored, not rebuilt, standing exactly as first constructed. 3 men in 1937 decided that had to be stopped. They made the core ingredient of federal crime to grow or sell. This is the story of the building material they made illegal. Welcome to Forbidden Camping, where we open what they locked. If buried knowledge matters to you, subscribe and hit the bell. This is where we surface what the industry worked hard to erase. This story does not begin inside a laboratory or any courtroom. It begins along a slow-moving river in 6th century France. Merovingian engineers were constructing stone bridge abutments. The mortar binding those structures was mixed from hemp and lime. The bridges above them collapsed over time. Water eventually won. But the hemp-lime foundations those bridges rested on held firm. Archaeologists recovered them fully intact in the modern century. 1,400 years underground, unmoved, uncracked, unbroken. No mold, no crumbling, no structural degradation of any kind. That is not fortune. That is a material fulfilling its purpose. Move east now to the carved Buddhist stone caves of Ajanta, India. Plaster on those cave walls has remained intact for 15 centuries. Every monsoon season, those limestone caves fill with floodwater. Researchers tested that ancient cave plaster in 2016. They found compressed hemp fiber woven into every single layer. 15 centuries of floods. Not one visible inch of mold growth. This video is just the surface of what the industry suppressed. I gathered everything they do not want property owners to know. All of it is inside the complete forbidden $2 vault. Wall sealing methods for pennies that outperform chemical sealants. Fireproofing methods that commercial building contractors have buried. Moisture elimination secrets that stop the mold cycle inside walls. Pest barriers needing no chemicals, no service visits, no contracts. Over 10 guides gathered in one single place. Zero filler at all. The link to access everything is sitting in the description below. But stay here. The part that should make you angry is coming now. The formula behind hempcrete is almost insultingly straightforward. You take the woody inner core of the hemp plant called the hurd. Rope makers historically threw hurd away as completely useless waste. Mix hurd with lime and water, then pack the mixture into wall forms. Wrap that mixture around a basic timber frame structure and just wait. What happens over the following months is not standard chemistry. The lime starts reacting with carbon dioxide present in the open air. Chemists refer to this gradual ongoing process as lime carbonation. Over months, and sometimes over as many as 12 complete years, the lime inside those wall forms converts back to calcium carbonate. The wall stops being a mix. It becomes a permanent mineral structure. Every passing year leaves it measurably denser and harder than before. A standard wood frame home loses its structural integrity each decade. A hempcrete wall gains physical density with every decade that passes. That is not coincidence. That contrast is the entire buried problem. Here is where the data makes the story impossible to dismiss. When open flame contacts the hempcrete wall, the lime binder reacts. It forms a self-extinguishing char layer directly on the surface. That char cuts oxygen from the flame. The fire cannot go deeper. Under ASTM E119 standardized fire resistance testing, these walls held against 1,700 degrees Fahrenheit for more than 60 continuous minutes of direct sustained exposure. 1,700 degrees, 60 full minutes, no breach. A standard pine stud frame loses all integrity in under 10 minutes. Not slower, not partly. 10 minutes and the entire frame collapses. Hempcrete earned the top class A fire rating in the building industry. No chemical additives, no factory coatings, no flame retardant sprays. The material produces its own fire protection. Nothing external added. If you followed this far, you already know more than almost anyone. Most homeowners will never hear a single word of what you now know. Subscribe and share with someone about to build or buy a new home. Every share preserves what the construction industry worked to erase. All of it lives in the vault. The link is in the description below. Stay with me now. The mold story that follows is worse than fire. Mold requires a surrounding pH of 4.5 or lower to live. The lime binder in hempcrete holds a stable pH level near 12. That pH is not mildly hostile to mold growth, it is outright lethal. The wall removes conditions mold needs before any growth can begin. Hempcrete breathes too. This is the quality that most builders miss. Moisture moves through the wall instead of collecting and trapping. In a conventional home, moisture collects behind the installed drywall. It sits in the hidden wall cavity. It feeds mold colonies for years. You cannot detect it forming. You cannot smell it until it has spread. In a hempcrete wall, there's no cavity to hide in, No trap exists. The wall manages internal humidity the way old-growth timber once did. So why does almost no one living today know hempcrete exists? Why do American homes still use chemically treated pine framing? In the 1930s, the American hemp industry was rising. An inventor built a machine that processed hemp at industrial speed. It separated fiber from hurd at just half a cent per pound output. Popular Mechanics prepared a cover story calling hemp the crop that would become America's most important agricultural resource by far. That story ran in February of 1938. Too late. 3 men had already decided that future was not going to happen. William Randolph Hearst ran the most powerful newspaper chain alive. He held vast timber forests and paper mills across the continent. His mills ran exclusively on wood pulp. Hemp threatened all of it. Hemp produces 4 times more usable paper per acre than any tree. If hemp became standard for paper, Hearst's timber empire collapsed. DuPont had patented nylon in 1935 and was expanding. They were building a suite of synthetic and petrochemical products. Hemp grew from open ground for almost nothing. No factory required. DuPont Synthetics required repurchase from DuPont every single year. Andrew Mellon was the sitting Secretary of the United States Treasury. He was also the primary banker financing the entire DuPont empire. In 1931, Mellon appointed his own future nephew-in-law, Harry Anslinger, to lead the new Federal Bureau of Narcotics. Anslinger needed a target. Mellon handed him one, precisely designed. What followed was a textbook campaign of organized industrial fraud. Hearst's papers ran sustained stories equating hemp with marijuana, printing fabricated accounts of violence and moral destruction. The word marijuana was then unfamiliar slang to American readers. Almost no one knew it referred to the plant their farmers had grown. The Marijuana Tax Act reached Congress in 1937. The hearings lasted hours. Anslinger read Hearst's stories aloud into the official congressional record as if they were hard evidence. The American Medical Association formally opposed the bill. Ignored. Hemp industry representatives requested time to speak. Time denied. The act did not ban hemp outright. It required a federal tax stamp. To obtain the stamp, you had to already be growing licensed hemp. To grow hemp, you needed the stamp in advance. The trap was deliberate. The American hemp industry collapsed within 3 years of that act. Now, look closely at what fills the walls of every new home today. Here's what you can legally build with hempcrete starting today. Hemp became federally legal again in December 2018. The Agriculture Improvement Act restored the right to grow the plant. In 2022, the International Code Council approved hempcrete under standard United States building codes officially. The legal path is open again. The suppression was not permanent. Here's the core process for applying hempcrete to an existing wall. Source hemp, hurd from any licensed hemp processor in your state. Mix 3 parts hurd to 1 part lime binder and 1 part water. Pack the mix into wall forms set around your existing timber frame. Remove the forms after 48 hours. The wall holds its shape. Leave the surface exposed for, at minimum, 4 weeks of carbonation. The wall will continue hardening progressively for months beyond that. Apply a breathable lime plaster coat to protect the outer surface. Never seal with cement render. It traps moisture and stops breathing. A contractor quoting spray foam insulation for 1 wall section will charge roughly $3,000 for a product that degrades. That hempcrete wall section costs around $150. Not marginally cheaper, 20 times cheaper for a wall that hardens. And that wall sequesters approximately 325 kilograms of carbon per cubic meter for the life of the building. Your wall does not just protect your home, it actively improves. In 1619, the colonial Jamestown government issued a decree. Every farmer in the colony was legally required to grow hemp crops. George Washington tracked his hemp across 90 diary entries total. Jefferson designed a hemp processing tool and refused to patent it. He wanted every American farmer to access it freely and without cost. The entire American Navy was built on hemp. Every sail, every rope. The woody hurd of those stalks was the raw material for hard walls. We discarded it as waste for 3 centuries, not knowing its value. 3 men made sure we kept not knowing for 85 more years. In 2025, wildfires tore through Los Angeles completely. Architects in the ash began recommending hempcrete for the rebuilding. Walls that do not burn, in a place that burns every single year. This knowledge did not die when they passed that act in 1937. It went to France. It held in Indian caves. It built homes in Belgium. It waited. It hardened. It outlasted everything they sent against it. Subscribe to Forbidden Camping if this vault opens something for you. Share this with someone about to make a decision about their walls. Every share preserves what 3 powerful men worked hard to erase. Everything they buried is inside the vault. Link in the description. The next vault opens soon, and what is inside it weighs even heavier.